A boy suddenly discovers with terror that an old woman in the crowd has actually grown a pair of huge wings, walking slowly toward him. Even more strange, the people around don't seem to see her. Only he can see. Right after, the monster spreads its wings and flies straight toward the boy. But before the monster can make a move, he feels a sharp pain in his stomach. Looking down, it turns out the boy used a light saber to pierce his body. Right after, the monster's body turns into a pile of loose sand, dissolving into the air between heaven and earth. The reason the boy can see monsters is that he is a child of human and God. Since childhood, he could see many strange creatures, but people didn't believe him at all, only treating him as a crazy person talking nonsense. Realizing this kind of thing shouldn't be said casually, he had to draw down everything he saw. It wasn't until he grew up that his life changed. On this day, the school held a stone statue exhibition. As a student, Percy was listening to the class attentively, but he suddenly realized that the Greek text in his hand actually turned into English that he could understand. Before he could figure out the situation, his mom appeared right in front of him, describing what his name had to do with this stone statue. But in the next second, his mom vanished into thin air again. It turned out it was all a hallucination just now. Faced with a female classmate's ridicule, Teacher Dodds didn't stop her, but instead asked Percy to be quiet. This made the female classmate push her luck even further. Seeing this scene, the old black professor felt it was way too much, so he immediately stepped forward to stop it and comforted Percy. Afterwards, old black gave Percy a pen, saying it could help Percy turn danger into safety. Although he didn't know what the teacher meant, this pen must have a very big function. While he was eating lunch, a sandwich hit his good friend Curly's face. Looking over, he realized it was the female classmate who ridiculed him at noon. Because she was scolded by the teacher, she held a grudge in her heart. But Percy didn't want to let her off easy either. Yet before he even touched the female classmate, she flew out for no reason. This made Percy feel very strange, and the pen in his hand was also vibrating inexplicably. Then Percy saw an incredible scene. Teacher Dodds turned into a bat, constantly asking where the thing was. Percy was completely confused. At the critical moment, the pen in his hand suddenly turned into a lightsaber, killing Teacher Dodds. After getting up, Percy hurried to tell old black professor about Teacher Dodds turning into a bat. But the professor stated that from start to finish, there was no Teacher Dodds here. Afterwards, Percy was even expelled from school for pushing the female classmate, and Curly, who witnessed everything, didn't testify for him either. This made Percy feel unusual. It seemed they were deliberately hiding something from him. Upon returning home, Percy told his mother about the daytime events. Seeing Percy's frowning face, his mother told him the truth about the matter. It turns out Percy is actually an illegitimate child born from his mother and a god from heaven, which is a so-called demigod. After demigods reach a certain age, the power inside their bodies slowly awakens, which is why it attracts the attention of demons. However, just as they were talking, Curly came to the door, telling them it was no longer safe here and that the two of them needed to escape right away. But Percy discovered that his friend's feet had turned into goat feet, which shocked him very much. But now there was no time to explain. They needed to hurry up and escape to Camp Half-Blood, because that was the final home for demigods. On the way, Curly also explained that he was his guardian, as well as the reason he didn't defend him during the day. If I hadn't taken you away from the school, you wouldn't have survived the night either. If I chase you, I can definitely find you. Hearing this, Percy finally understood the reason for things, so he forgave Curly. Just as they were about to arrive at Camp Half-Blood, a minotaur attacked them, flipping the car completely over. Fortunately, the few of them were not badly hurt, and it wasn't too far from Camp Half-Blood. They could reach it by crossing the barrier ahead. But his mother couldn't go there because she was human. Only half-bloods could reach that place. So she instructed Curly that he must protect Percy well. After Curly agreed, the Minotaur also tracked them here. Time was tight. His mother asked the two to hurry across the barrier while she held off the Minotaur. But how could his mother be a match for the Minotaur? Before even 2 rounds of fighting, she was grabbed by the Minotaur, and then right under Percy's eyes, his mother was crushed into ashes. This made Percy extremely furious, so he pulled out the pen given by the professor, ready to fight him with his life. The two were instantly knocked down by each other's attacks, but refusing to give up, Percy stood up again and chopped down right at his bullhorn. The Minotaur, in unbearable pain, launched Percy directly into the air with his head. The angry Minotaur picked up a rock on the ground, preparing to smash him to death, but Percy easily dodged it. His horn also accidentally got stuck in vines during the attack. Taking advantage of the moment, Percy climbed onto the Minotaur's body, pulled out the injured horn, and stabbed it hard into the Minotaur's body. When Percy woke up again, he had already arrived at Camp Half-Blood. The horn at the head of the bed also proved that last night was not a dream. So after his grief, he decided to find his father first, and then go settle scores with Zeus. After all monsters in the mortal realm were under his management. As soon as he came out, he saw Old Black Professor. It turned out he was also a half-blood. Not only that, all half-bloods of humans and gods lived here, and Old Black was the manager of Camp Half-Blood, responsible for check-ins and training. Then he led Percy to a room and introduced Percy to the people there. But everyone didn't care at all, just chatting among themselves. Only a person named Luke, who heard that Percy killed a Minotaur last night, really wanted to get to know this friend because of it. At the same time, after thinking calmly, Curly felt that Percy's mother was not dead, but was taken to the Underworld by Hades, because he had heard of people being crushed to death or flattened by monsters, but never heard of anyone being squeezed into powder. From this, he concluded that his mother was definitely saved by Hades and taken back to the Underworld. Old Black knew about this long ago, but he couldn't tell Percy yet, feeling this matter couldn't be rushed. Over here, after the two got to know each other, Luke prepared to take him around to get familiar with the environment. Unexpectedly, a girl with curly hair bumped into him on purpose and pushed Percy down with one shove. It turned out she was Clarice, daughter of Ares, the god of war. She heard that Percy killed a Minotaur, so she came over to see if he really had strength, not expecting him to be a softie. Fortunately, Luke stopped her in time, so Clarice didn't pick on Percy further. She explained that the half-bloods here were all very arrogant. If you wanted to conquer them, the only way was to win the annual Capture the Flag tournament. Coincidentally, today was the day. The game was divided into red team and blue team. As long as you planted the flag in the opponent's territory, you won. Minor scratches were allowed in between, but you could not heavily injure opponents. Luke and Percy were on the blue team, while Clarice was on the red team. After the game started, Luke quickly led the team to set up an ambush in the woods. Meanwhile, team leader Annabeth brought Percy to a place with no people. She was the daughter of Athena and felt Percy didn't have any experience and would only drag them down in the team, so she arranged for him to keep watch in the distance while she quickly returned to the team. At this time, the red and blue teams were already fighting intensely, while Percy was idle with nothing to do. But while he was resting, Clarice brought people over. She wanted to teach Percy a lesson, but doing this would make things very difficult for the red team because they would face a situation of fighting fewer against more. However, Clarice didn't care at all. She just wanted to teach Percy a lesson. Right away, she activated the spear her father left her and started fighting Percy. The spear was her proudest weapon, and Percy was indeed no match for her, getting knocked to the ground in less than 2 rounds. Realizing he was outmatched, he hurriedly fled toward the woods in the back. Naturally, Clarice wouldn't let him off easily and chased frantically from behind until chasing him to a riverbank. But strangely enough, after Percy came here, he actually became unusually brave. In 2 or 3 moves, he knocked the soldiers around her to the ground and then snapped Clarice's spear. However, just as Clarice was preparing to teach him a lesson, the blue team had already defeated the red team and planted the flag in the opponent's territory. Clarice's selfish desires ruined this match. Right after she left, Annabeth took off her invisibility cap and appeared in front of him, then shoved Percy into the water with one push. But strangely, after Percy touched the water, his wounds miraculously healed. There was even a sea god's trident above his head. It turned out he was actually the child of Poseidon, god of the sea. Everyone was dumbfounded, because the children born to Poseidon were the most powerful forbidden children, with abilities far above theirs. But before Percy could be happy, Old Black told him a bad piece of news. Zeus's master bolt, which symbolizes supreme power, was lost. He suspected Percy stole it and demanded he hand over the thunderbolt within 7 days, or else he would declare war on the ocean. However, Old Black learned that Hades, the lord of the underworld, was the one who stole the thunderbolt. He wanted Percy to go to the underworld to retrieve the thunderbolt to resolve this misunderstanding, but Percy was unwilling to risk his life for a father he had never met. While several people were arguing endlessly, Curly burst in and revealed to Percy that his mother wasn't dead, but was imprisoned in the underworld by Hades. Now, whether for his mother or his father, he had to make a trip to the underworld. Since that was the case, Percy had no choice but to agree. Before leaving, Luke gave him a pair of flying shoes, which could save his life at a critical moment. Then they boarded a bus and set off. On the way, they had to pass through the territories of Medusa and Ares, the god of war, to reach the underworld. Soon they arrived at a small town. It was filled with stone statues here, clearly Medusa's domain. But right then, Teacher Dodds also tracked them here. She wanted Percy to hand over the thunderbolt, otherwise none of them could leave here alive. What made Percy feel strange was that upon seeing this woman, several people actually turned their backs away. It turned out she was Medusa. Medusa felt they must have some misunderstanding, so she asked them to enter the house to mediate. Naturally, monsters wouldn't dare share a roof with Medusa. The others were hesitating too, but Percy felt they could trust Medusa. Staying outside meant death anyway, so it was better to enter the house and take a shot. Thus, 2 people followed Percy into the house. Actually, according to generation hierarchy, Percy should call Medusa his stepmother, because Poseidon once had a romance with Medusa. But in the end, Athena, out of jealousy, cursed Medusa, turning her into a snake-haired woman, where anyone who looked straight at her would turn to stone. But she forgot that there was a daughter of Athena right here. Annabeth naturally refuted Medusa's words, stating that she was lying. Medusa didn't want to argue with kids, so she lied, saying there was still food in the kitchen and asked Percy to come over and help. After reaching the kitchen, Medusa got straight to the point. She wanted Percy to hand over the 2 friends outside, and she would rescue his mother. But after she finished speaking, she turned her head only to find Percy was already gone. Medusa knew what that meant too. Since that's the case, then don't blame me for being ruthless. At this time, several people arrived in the basement of the castle, only to find many stone statues turned into stone by Medusa here. Unexpectedly, Medusa had killed so many people over the years. Sensing that Medusa would arrive soon, everyone quickly hid. Curly flew into the air to observe the situation. Soon, Medusa came to the basement and found Percy behind a chest. Realizing he was exposed, Percy stopped hiding and stepped right out. Just as Medusa was preparing to turn him to stone, Curly fell from the sky, attracting Medusa's attention. Taking advantage of the moment, Annabeth put the invisible cap on her head. Just like that, they solved Medusa. Then Percy used Medusa's head to solve the bat monster outside. Finally, the few of them continued forward. But while they were resting in place, they met a biker guy. In conversation, they learned that he was actually the son of Ares, god of war, and Zeus, meaning he was Percy's cousin. Afterward, Ares brought them to a restaurant and stated that they shouldn't care about this war. The 12 gods just love to fight, are treacherous, and like to stab people in the back. Even if this war were stopped, next time they would find all kinds of excuses to start a war and annex territory. It seems Ares is a sensible person, but Percy still had to stop this war because he still needed to go to the underworld to save his mother. Seeing them so persistent, Ares couldn't advise against it anymore. He stated he had a way to send everyone to the underworld, but before this, they needed to go to a nearby amusement park to retrieve his lost shield. Percy thought retrieving a shield was very simple, so he agreed to him. To prevent everyone from running away, Curly had to stay behind as a hostage. After Percy arrived at the amusement park, he realized this mission was not simple. The amusement park was pitch black. This was actually an amusement park built by Hephaestus, god of fire, for his wife Aphrodite to make her happy. But one day, the god of fire discovered his wife was secretly meeting with Ares, so he abandoned the amusement park. Ares, in a rush to escape, also left his shield behind here. While they were talking, the tunnel ahead started up inexplicably. Annabeth felt the shield was inside, so they took a boat into the tunnel. On the wall there were stories of the god of fire from birth to growing up. However, after finishing the story, they accidentally fell into a bottomless pit. After being washed to the very bottom, they discovered there was actually a palace here, and Ares' shield was right here. So the two jumped off the boat and swam to the circular platform, only to discover there was also a golden throne here. It seemed this was a trap mechanism. To retrieve the shield, someone had to sit on it. Even knowing the danger of the throne, Percy ignored Annabeth's objections and sat on it resolutely. Sure enough, in the next second, the throne started up. Golden threads slowly wrapped around Percy. Soon, under the wrapping of golden threads, Percy turned into a golden person, and the shield dropped as well. But Annabeth didn't pick up the shield and leave. Instead, she came to the side of the throne trying to open it. But no matter how she hid it, she couldn't open it. At this time, the god of fire suddenly appeared, telling her to leave here quickly, saying the throne was something she could never open no matter what. But Annabeth was unwilling to leave her friend behind alone. She told him about Percy wanting to save his mother, begging the god of fire to let him go. Seeing Annabeth beg repeatedly, the god of fire decided to make an exception and let Percy go. After thanking the god of fire, they returned to the restaurant and handed the shield to Ares. And Ares indeed kept his promise, finding a truck for them. This wasn't an ordinary truck, but a hearse that could travel across to the underworld. Without another word, under the guidance of the hearse, they indeed came to the underworld. But the ferrymen here discovered they were not dead. Seeing the few people arguing endlessly, the ferryman directly blew a whistle, and then a huge three-headed dog rushed out, chasing frantically after them, swallowing Curly in one bite. This instantly frightened the two of them badly, so they decided to split up. Although Percy escaped pursuit, Annabeth was tackled by the Hellhound, her life unknown. Percy pulled out his sword, ready for battle. But when the mist slowly cleared, he found the Hellhound was actually staying obediently in place, and even enjoying it very much. Turning around, he realized Annabeth was scratching the Hellhound's itch. The Hellhound got sleepy and lay on the ground to sleep. Curly also took the chance to crawl out from inside. After rescuing Annabeth, they also saw Hades' palace suspended in midair. His mother must also be locked up there, so everyone set off immediately. However, when they passed through a patch of woods, they discovered there were many people here who weren't moving at all, just like wooden figures. Curious, Annabeth lifted their clothes, only to find that tree roots had already grown under their feet. It turned out people with regrets during life would be trapped in this black forest. Before everyone could get terrified, they heard the sound of the Hellhound. With no time to think, everyone quickly ran for their lives. But after running for a while, they realized Annabeth hadn't caught up, so they turned back, only to find Annabeth's feet were entangled by tree roots. This meant Annabeth had regrets too, but no matter how Percy asked, she refused to say. Annabeth also told the two to hurry and go, saying she still had a pearl to return to the human realm and would be fine. Seeing the Hellhound was about to strike, Percy still chose to escape from there. Shortly after they left, Annabeth also used the pearl to return to the human world. The two who escaped came to a desert over here, but at this time Curly walked toward one direction uncontrollably. It turned out to be the shoes on his feet that kept taking him flying toward a black hole on the side. Seeing this, Percy quickly stepped forward to grab Curly, but he still kept flying toward the black hole. Helpless, Percy had to pull out his lightsaber and stick it into the ground, which finally stabilized his body. Then the flying shoes broke free from the goat feet and fell into the bottomless pit, resolving the crisis. When Percy lay down, he discovered there was something inside his backpack. Opening it to look, he found it was actually the Master Bolt. This also made Curly very confused. How could the lightning bolt be in his backpack? This isn't my bag, this is Ares' bag. Ares. The whole game was Ares's. After thinking calmly, Percy realized that the main culprit had been Ares all along. He wanted Percy to bring the bolt to Hades so he could stir up trouble, cause a fight among the gods, and then reap the benefits. Now they only needed to hand the bolt over to Zeus to prevent the gods from going to war. But they couldn't give Zeus the bolt right now because Percy's mother hadn't been rescued yet. So they came to Hades' palace. Standing tall and majestic here, guarded by underworld soldiers, even the air revealed a breath of death. truly worthy of being the Underworld King's palace. After entering inside, they also saw Hades as well as his imprisoned mother. "Give me what you have, and I will give you what I have." But Percy was unwilling to hand the bolt to Hades because this thing didn't belong to her in the first place. However, what Hades wanted wasn't the bolt, but Annabeth's invisible cap. That thing originally belonged to Hades. It was just accidentally stolen by someone else, and then that person used the invisible cap to steal the bolt, leading to today's tragic situation. Hearing this, Percy suddenly understood. It turned out the main culprit wasn't Ares, but Kronos, who is Zeus's father. He was the second-generation king of gods in Greece. Due to his cruel nature, Zeus united with two brothers to overthrow him and imprisoned him in Tartarus, which was that black hole just now. Dissatisfied with being imprisoned, Kronos united with Ares to steal the Master Bolt to cause internal strife among the gods and reclaim Mount Olympus. To stop this conspiracy, Percy prepared to head to Mount Olympus to inform Zeus of everything. Before leaving, he promised Hades he would definitely find the invisible cap to exchange back his mother. However, as soon as Percy returned to the human realm, he met Ares walking toward him head-on. Knowing his identity was exposed, Ares knew he could never let these kids go to Mount Olympus to ruin their plans, so he fought with Percy. After a bout of fighting, Percy was kicked flying. But Ares forgot that this was the seaside. Percy had endless power. Right away, he summoned surging waves and slammed them hard at Ares. Before he could stand up, Percy charged wildly at Ares and slashed him hard with a sword. Immediately, Ares' golden blood flowed onto the ground. The outcome was decided. The son of Zeus still couldn't defeat the son of Poseidon. His body turned into golden light, dissolving into the air between heaven and earth, leaving behind only Hades' invisible cap. At this time, Percy heard a strange sound. Looking over, he realized it was in the direction of his home. So they immediately came inside and found Hades' henchmen had already been waiting here for a long time. Believing his purpose was already very clear, Percy offered the helmet with both hands, hoping Hades would keep his promise and let his mother go. Time was tight now. He needed to hurry to Mount Olympus to explain the reason behind things. Annabeth knew this trip for him meant a slim chance of survival, so she put her own amulet on him, hoping he could return safely. Then Percy came to Mount Olympus alone and saw Zeus, god of the heavens. Afterwards, he offered the bolt with both hands, showing that the bolt was not stolen by him, but by Kronos. But Zeus was not very surprised, because he knew his father's nature. The divine family had always been like this, full of intrigue and stabbing each other in the back everywhere. Zeus didn't make things hard for Percy either, telling him to leave here quickly. When Percy learned that Zeus still wanted to go to war, he tried his best to persuade him against it. But Zeus didn't listen at all. Furious, Percy brought up his family history. Fortunately, at the critical moment, Poseidon stepped in to stop it in time and surrendered to his younger brother. Poseidon didn't want a war that would plunge living beings into ruin. Out of a father's duty, he didn't want his son to get hurt either. Facing Poseidon's plea, Zeus accepted his surrender and turned to leave. Father and son looked at each other face to face. This was Percy's first time seeing his father. So after a goosebump-inducing catch-up, Percy was sent back to Camp Half-Blood. The people in the camp all clapped and cheered, celebrating his stopping of the War of Gods. But Percy felt the crisis was not over. Because when he was in the Underworld, he was almost pulled into the black hole by the shoes given by Luke, meaning Luke and Ares were also in cahoots. Facing the accusation, Luke admitted to this fact without hesitation. Because Percy was his stumbling block. With his existence, he couldn't overthrow the gods and replace them. Saying so, he opened a portal, preparing to kill Percy and then escape from here. Due to Luke's superb swordsmanship, Percy was quickly knocked to the ground. Just as he was preparing to stab Percy to death with one blade, Annabeth stepped in to stop him in time. It turned out she had been watching the fight from the side for a long time, and the words just now were all heard by her. Seeing the matter exposed, Luke immediately ran into the portal and escaped from here. From then on, the crisis was resolved. Afterward, Percy bid farewell to Old Black and returned to his home to confirm whether Hades kept his promise and sent his mother back. And Hades indeed did not disappoint him. After a series of twists and turns, Percy finally saved his mother. And Kronos was not defeated. He was still plotting his plan, often appearing in Percy's dreams. The story ends right here. See you next issue.